Hello, my name is Nathaniel. Welcome to my channel, Something Fishy This Way Swims. Today I'm going to be mixing a couple of my favorite things in the world, and that's going to be controversial topics, education, and animals. So, like I said, it's going to be a controversial topic, and I'm basically going to be talking about why you shouldn't rescue betta fish from the store. Again, huge controversial topic, but just hear me out. Just hear me out because I actually did an obsessive amount of research on this to the point where it's weird and should be socially shamed. So, I feel like before I actually get into the information, I should kind of discuss the actual issue, and then I will give as much education as I can on the betta fish trade. So the issue at hand, or the perceived issue I should say, is that betta fish are kept in cups at the pet store. And a lot of times they're not really cared for as well as they should be. But that's not really exclusive to bettas, to be perfectly honest. And a lot of people get really, really upset about it, and so they go and they buy all these fish, and they make these huge, glorified, self-righteous posts about how I rescued all these fish. When you're not actually rescuing any fish, because that's not rescuing, that's patronage. Like, you're literally buying it. That's a transaction. That's not rescuing. You're not sneaking out the bottle. You're not running in. You're not, like, freeing anything. What you're doing is you're funding the thing that you're trying to stop. I just don't understand. So that's my frustration with the situation. And let me explain why you shouldn't be doing this. I'm going to go kind of explain the betta fish trade. Again, it's going to be super controversial. So I should start by crediting the betta fish trade, especially in Thailand and Indonesia, which, let me just say, I do not approve of a lot of the things that are done and with a lot of Asian breeders, especially fish farms, especially the ones that ship to the U.S., the ones that have contracts with pet stores. Let me just say for the record, I'm just going to quote my sources. I've spent the last, 3 weeks kind of trying to make this video, talking to breeders, tracking down Indonesian breeders, Thailand breeders, trying to get answers out of Walmart and PetSmart, which was a fucking nightmare. They do not like talking about this kind of stuff, and I think it's kind of obvious why. So, here's the information that I've gathered. Like I said, I'm going to credit the Indonesian fish industry. Obviously, betta fish are naturally, we get them imported from Thailand and Indonesia. And it's because of these mass imports that the fish are so available here in the hobby, here in the US and Canada. It's because of these breeders. It's because of this trade that people are constantly shitting on. It's because of this that these fish are so available and so affordable. If not, you'd be having to buy them from individual breeders, and I don't think many people feel comfortable spending $40 to $60 to have a shipped fish to them that may or may not survive. So I just want to say that for the record. Now let's actually get into the fish trade. So obviously, like I said, the Indonesian and Thai fish trade is extremely important for the hobby. We just would not have these fish without it at the price and availability and the diversity of colors and fin types that we have if it wasn't for this trade. So typically what's going to happen is you're going to have a fish farm in either Indonesia and Thailand. Now pretty much these fish are not typically kept in the best conditions. The ones that you're going to find on your fish stores are culls. These are the ones that have genetic deformities. They may be weak, have weak bodies. They're just the low quality fish that they can't sell to independent breeders for high quality. So instead of being able to sell these fish for like $600 to $7,000, because some of them get insanely high, they're basically just going to have a contract with Walmart or PetSmart or Petco or something like that, and which I think they're kind of subsidiaries. Anyways, and they're basically just going to be selling these fish for pennies. So from what I was able to gather, and it was really difficult to get information because this is not something a lot of people want to talk about. I ended up getting the most reliable and accurate and consistent information from transshippers because they're not biased. They deal with both sides. And what I found was actually 4 out of 10 betta fish die in transit from Asia to the US. Now, considering the massive numbers, that's actually not too bad, but it's still high. typically, by the time they get to the store, like I said, 4 out of 10 would die. And then the ones that you see on the shelves, because the fish are in such high demand, they're really not there for more than a couple of days. They're not in the actual store for more than a couple of days to typically a week max before someone buys them. So it's not like these fish are living their entire lives in these little cups, and typically they are not cared for as they should be, and that really comes down to the industry. But again, it's because of these practices that these fish are so available. And a lot of people get really upset about the fact that they have to be kept in cups, which I think a lot of this is well-intending and it comes from a good place, but it's just based on ignorance. Not that the people are ignorant themselves, but they're ignorant of the process. So betta fish have to be kept in cups. When you're dealing with selling fish at the scale that we're talking about, they have to be. Okay. Let's say, just hypothetically, that we banned cupping of bettas and we kept them all in tanks at the fish store. Betta fish are extremely aggressive. They are one of the most aggressive fish in the world, particularly towards other bettas. So what this means, there's a fly in here, is that, let's just say that we're doing this, you're going to have individual tanks for each individual betta. That means that the store is going to have to charge an absurd amount of money, because you can't just have them coming in at the level that they were, or else you're going to start getting massive outbreaks of diseases and parasites and things like that, because you're going to have so many fish going through these tanks because they're in such high demand. Now again, this would also skyrocket the cost. So if it wasn't for cupping, we wouldn't have as many, and they would not be nearly as affordable. So although, you know, there's a lot darker side to this, it is a necessity of the trade, and without this, again, I cannot stress this enough, without the way that things are right now, these fish would not be available to us. They just wouldn't. We would have to be buying from individual breeders, and you know, I love buying from individual breeders, especially locally. Always support local. Especially because it's typically easier to track the ethics of the business practices for someone local than it is for a faceless fish farmer in Indonesia or Thailand. But like I said, not a lot of people want to spend, you know, $40 to $60 just on the fish, not including shipping. Back to the issue at hand. When you go to the store and you see a fish in a cup and you have an issue, honestly, buying it is just about the worst thing that you can do for this fish. Because you may possibly be giving that one fish a better life, but you're also going to be just statistically condemning 6 other fish to fill that fish's spot because you purchased it. If you really have a problem with the way that fish are being kept and the way that things are being done, talk to the managers. They hear this every day, so you're not telling them anything they don't already know. But talk to the managers, write corporate, and boycott the shit out of them. But it's kind of counterproductive and a little bit hypocritical to constantly complain about the way that the fish are being kept and then continuously purchase them, continuing the method of fish keeping that these large corporations have. So that's basically what I'm trying to say, is that if you have an issue with it, shut up and boycott. None of us like the way that betta fish are kept. None of us like the way that they're transported. And I really wish that we had better options. We all wish that we had better options. But like I've explained, the fact is that it is this way because this is the only way we can have these fish. This has been a long video. So I just want to say again, I'm not trying to, if you want to go and buy a fish, that's fine. I love Petco. I typically, this is controversial, but they have a lot of black and white. They're a very checkered company, but I love their fish. They're super affordable, and my local Petco or PetSmart typically have really healthy betta fish. So I'm not trying to shame anybody who wants to purchase from these places. By all means, go for it. These are gorgeous fish, and they deserve happy homes. This is all about fun and loving animals, so have fun and love animals. But definitely before you make a big stink, you need to know what you're stepping in. So I will hope that I was able to share some information on the Asian fish trade and kind of clear up a little bit about how this works and why it is the way that it is. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you all have an amazing day. I need to turn off this filming light because I am